In a potential shakeup that could send shockwaves through the Formula One paddock, George Russell has been linked with a sensational move to Red Bull Racing, a development that hinges heavily on Max Verstappen's uncertain future and Sergio Perez's underwhelming performance. With Red Bull no longer showing the dominance that defined the early years of this regulatory era, Verstappen finds himself in a precarious position, forced to reevaluate his trajectory amid a slump that has left the team vulnerable. The Dutchman's contract reportedly contains a performance clause that could allow him to walk away if he's not among the top contenders, and with Aston Martin and Mercedes reportedly circling like vultures, the summer break could be the tipping point. Aston Martin, in particular, has emerged as a surprise suitor, with their newly fortified infrastructure, Honda backing, and the potential involvement of Adrian Newey adding weight to their pursuit. Sources suggest that Verstappen's camp is seriously evaluating a future outside Red Bull, an idea that, until recently, would have been considered unthinkable. The Red Bull leadership knows this, and behind closed doors, contingency plans have already begun to form. Should Verstappen trigger his exit, Red Bull would be faced with the colossal task of replacing their four-time world champion, and all. Eyes are now turning to Mercedes' George Russell, who finds himself in a precarious position of his own. Russell's current standing at Mercedes is far from secure, despite his polished image and moments of brilliance on track. While Toto Wolff and the team have maintained an air of calm, insiders have noted a conspicuous delay in renewing Russell's contract. Martin Brundle, a veteran pundit, has raised eyebrows by pointing out that top-tier drivers are usually signed well before the final stretch of their contracts, a fact that casts doubt on Mercedes' long-term intentions. Adding to the speculation is the rapid rise of young Italian driver Andrea Kimi Antonelli, who has begun turning heads with his raw pace and impressive composure. Some within the Mercedes camp see Antonelli as the next generational talent. And if his trajectory continues, it could very well spell the end of Russell's time in Brackley. The delay in contract negotiations might not be about performance alone. It could be strategic positioning by Mercedes to hold leverage as they evaluate their options in what is shaping up to be a transformative year in driver markets. With Verstappen's potential departure from Red Bull, Mercedes could pivot in a bold direction, possibly rekindling discussions with Sergio Perez, whose reputation, while tarnished by his stint at Red Bull, may deserve a second look given recent revelations about the RB21's limitations and the unique challenges it presented to drivers not named Verstappen. For Sergio Perez, the narrative might be shifting from decline to redemption. He has faced relentless criticism for his performances alongside Verstappen, but data from the Miami Grand Prix and comparisons with teammates like Lawson and Tsunoda have started to reveal a more nuanced picture, one that suggests Red Bull's machinery was less adaptable than it seemed. With Cadillac emerging as a legitimate contender for Perez's services in the newly forming F1 ecosystem, the Mexican driver has become a hot commodity once again. Cadillac's interest isn't purely performance-driven. Perez's massive popularity in North America and the sponsorship pull he commands make him an ideal ambassador as the American manufacturer prepares its entry. Still, while Cadillac might offer Perez a lead role and financial security, the opportunity to drive for Mercedes, if it materializes, would give him a shot at redemption on the highest stage. This is especially tempting as Mercedes readies itself for a new era in 2026, and pairing a young talent like Antonelli with a proven veteran like Perez could offer the perfect blend of experience and future potential. The resurgence of Perez as a viable top-team driver is one of the more unexpected storylines of this year's silly season, and his ultimate destination could play a pivotal role in shaping the 2026 grid. Red Bull, for its part, is facing a crisis of succession. If Verstappen leaves, the team is left without a clear leader, as their junior program, though rich with potential, lacks anyone ready to step into such massive shoes. Isaac Hadjar has shown flashes of promise, but there's little evidence that he's prepared to anchor a championship contending team. Red Bull's top brass, aware of this vacuum, are already holding exploratory talks with George Russell. These discussions, though not confirmed officially, are said to have gained traction in recent weeks as Russell's future at Mercedes has become cloudier. For Red Bull, securing a proven race winner like Russell would be a stabilizing move, particularly in the wake of what would be the most significant departure since Sebastian Vettel's exit. It also buys them time to further evaluate talents like Arvid Lindblad, who is still maturing within their junior ranks. A Russell acquisition would mark a strategic shift for Red Bull, less about grooming the next prodigy and more about maintaining competitiveness through proven consistency. It would also create one of the most intriguing storylines in modern F1 history, a direct trade of sorts between Mercedes and Red Bull, as Perez's path potentially leads him the other way. The underlying drama of all this hinges on Verstappen's next move. Aston Martin's interest is no longer speculative. It's real, and their package is convincing. With the backing of Honda set to return in full force, the technical brainpower of Adrian Newey potentially in play, and a state-of-the-art facility in Silverstone nearing completion, the British outfit has rebranded itself from a midfield hopeful to a future powerhouse. Lawrence Stroll's $300 million offer to Verstappen over 3 years is reportedly on the table, and while money alone may not sway the Dutchman, the prospect of building a legacy with a team on the rise certainly could. Verstappen still in. His prime has nothing left to prove at Red Bull. A new challenge, especially one that allows him to influence development from the ground up, might be exactly what he needs. Furthermore, partnering with a non-threatening teammate like Lance Stroll offers Verstappen a chance to establish clear inter-team dominance, a luxury he never truly had even in his early years. If he accepts the Aston Martin offer, the impact will reverberate across the sport, not just for Red Bull, but for Mercedes, Ferrari, and beyond. One of the quieter, yet equally intriguing moves happening behind the scenes involves Alpine. The arrival of Flavio Briatore and the replacement of Jack Doohan with Franco Colapinto signals a shift in direction for the French squad. Sources indicate that Alpine is actively exploring the driver market and might be willing to shake up their current lineup to bring in someone with more experience and commercial appeal. Perez fits this mold perfectly. His marketability, especially in Latin America, and his experience navigating both midfield and top-tier teams make him an ideal candidate for a team looking to climb the ranks. Alpine knows that merely staying in the midfield won't cut it anymore, especially as budget caps and power unit changes level the playing field. With Mercedes power units likely in play, Alpine has a real shot at competing, but they need a veteran who can deliver consistent results and attract sponsors. Briatore, a known risk-taker with a penchant for bold moves, could be the wild card that makes a Perez-Alpine partnership a reality. Amidst the mounting pressure and shifting allegiances, it's worth examining the Red Bull garage more closely. Internal sources suggest that the team has already started informal discussions with Russell's representatives, weighing the feasibility of a high-profile switch. For Russell, the move would be both risky and rewarding, trading Mercedes' technical consistency for Red Bull's championship pedigree and political complexity. But if Verstappen departs, the dynamic changes completely. Russell would not be a second driver. He would be the team leader, tasked with guiding Red Bull into a new era. His analytical driving style, calm demeanor under pressure, and experience dealing with high-stakes intra-team rivalries make him a surprisingly good fit. It's also a redemption arc in itself. After years of playing the understudy to Hamilton, Russell could finally step into a spotlight of his own. This mutual need, Red Bull's for leadership and Russell's for elevation, could make the partnership inevitable, particularly if Mercedes throws its weight behind Antonelli and moves on. The idea of a direct or indirect driver swap between Russell and Perez is no longer far-fetched. Both drivers find themselves at crossroads, and the needs of their respective teams could align in ways that make such a move logical. Mercedes could benefit from Perez's experience and marketability, especially as they transition into a new car philosophy for 2026. Meanwhile, Red Bull would get a highly motivated, race-proven talent in Russell, whose best years are arguably ahead of him. Such a swap wouldn't just be transactional, it would redefine the competitive narratives of both teams. The last time something this dramatic happened was when Lewis Hamilton left McLaren for Mercedes, a move that was widely questioned at the time, but ultimately proved transformative. If history is any indicator, these kinds of bold choices often signal the start of new dynasties. The possibility of Perez in silver and Russell in Red Bull red might seem jarring now, but come 2026, it could be the new normal. As these pieces move across the board, one can't help but feel that we're witnessing the calm before the storm. The traditional power structures of Formula One are being challenged not just by performance fluctuations, but by strategic foresight, commercial dynamics, and generational turnover. Verstappen's potential exit is the earthquake, but the aftershocks, Russell to Red Bull, Perez to Mercedes, Antonelli's rise, Cadillac's debut, and Alpine's rebuild are what will truly reshape the landscape. Every driver move is now part of a larger puzzle, one that teams are racing to solve before the 2026 season changes everything. The decisions made over the next few months will define careers, alter legacies, and perhaps crown new champions. The silly season has never been more consequential, and for fans, the drama off track is starting to rival the spectacle on it. In closing, the Formula One grid is entering one of its most volatile and intriguing transition periods in recent memory. With every rumor comes a new possibility, and with every possibility, a potential shift in power. If Verstappen chooses to leave Red Bull, it triggers a chain of events that could place Russell at the heart of Red Bull's resurgence and give Perez a shot at redemption with Mercedes or another rising force. Antonelli could become the sport's next wunderkind, while Cadillac and Alpine redefine what mid-tier teams can achieve. This isn't just about driver moves, it's about rewriting the future of the sport. And as the negotiations play out behind closed doors, fans around the world are left to speculate, dream, and debate. The only certainty Formula One is about to change forever, and the first domino has already started to fall.